This is Sean B. just giving you a quick review and some more insight on the team associated RC8T3E electric truggy. Just wanted to give you some insight. I did a lot of research before I bought this truggy, and Ron Stanley is one that I found on YouTube. Was about the only one that had a really good involved review of not the electric version but the nitro version that he runs down in Arizona. And so wanted to share some of the insights that I've found in my experience in driving this. My background is I raced two-wheel drive buggies for a long time years ago, just finally starting to get back in the hobby, and decided to go a little bigger, something that I thought would be a little bit tougher. And some things have let me down, some things have been absolutely to my expectations, and other things have exceeded my expectations. So I'm not one that races too much anymore, even though my local track would like me to. But I find that I just kind of dink around on any dirt pile I can find, or running around the yard, or just up and down the street, or so. More of a basher now. But as I bought this buggy, or this truggy I should say, I found that I really did like going on the track. The track that his local is from, it's called Almosta Ranch RC in Twin Falls, Idaho, and pretty good outdoor track. We've had a lot of fun there, Casey. I appreciate that. And so in my experience with this, I have had numerous parts that I've ended up breaking and replacing, and some of these have been at Ron's recommendations that I found off of his experience with his own nitro version of this vehicle. And so I wanted to share some of those with you, and I'll have some more to come. So the first thing that I wanted to bring your attention to, about the first or second time out, after assembling this, getting it ready to go and dialing in my radio, is I went out to the track, and within probably, it wasn't even a full battery pack. These are those spring cups that are at the bottom of the shocks. I wrecked, did some cartwheels, things of that nature. By the way, the brakes on these work a lot better on a four-wheel drive truggy like this with all that rotating mass. Way more than they do on my two-wheel drive buggy of years past. So I ended up landing on my roof a few times. So a body was one of the things that I ended up having to buy again too, to replace the one that I just cremated. Anyway, so these are those spring cups. I've got a tip of how to keep these on the vehicle so you don't pop one off and lose it, and then you're out for the rest of the day until you can get these ordered and back. I use a bread twist tie for like a bag of bread. Strip that flat paper coating off of it. Use that fine wire, heat it up with a lighter, and just make a loop around that notch where that slips over the shock shaft. I'll show you on my truggy when I get that out here for you in just a little bit, and probably another video. So the next thing that we found, so I was invited out to the county fairgrounds this last summer, and we were the sideshow for the monster truck racing. And so we were hitting some crazy jumps, and of course just having the truggy set up on it pretty low to the ground. This thing doesn't wheelie very easily, or at least with the setup and the power plant that I have. But I did a huge old backflip, landed on the ground on the wheels, rubber side to the ground, but hit so hard, and I hit my tail first just a little bit to where there's enough weight in this RC truck that I ended up snapping this rear brace. And you can see there's the old one, snapped it right in half. And also because of that impact, I bent that rear center drive shaft that goes from the center diff back to the rear diff, and it was just a wobbling away. Still running, but took it apart. It was clicking really bad, and so I didn't run it any longer. Didn't want to break anything further, and found that rear brace had broken. So a very cheap part to replace, and haven't had any problems since. But that was just an insane jump that we took. We were probably 20 feet in the air, 30 feet in the air, and landing flat on the flat ground. So there was just no cushion give that any chance of survival. The next thing I wanted to show you is this is the factory front upper arms, left and right. So you see these, the left one is the stock associated arm, and Ron Stranley, apologize Ron if I'm slaughtering your name there, had recommended, and he had had this problem too with these upper arms breaking fairly prematurely. It didn't seem like we were hitting very hard, but they would break and crack right through this area and break in half sometimes, or just get hairline cracks to where they'd start flexing, and then eventually they would fail completely. So there's an alternative. There's a Mugen part. So this arm on the right is the Mugen part that is nearly identical dimensional wise and angle wise to the associated, but it's a lot tougher. I've broken probably two or three of these arms that are from associated, and I decided to go ahead and take Ron up on that tip. And so I bought these from Dollar Hobbies, which is a great resource to get some pretty good prices on some things. Gotta shop it. If RC can get so expensive so fast with breaking parts. And so it's one of these two part numbers. So you see the Mugen E2020. Dollar Hobbies likes to make kits for these. And so they think that might be a Dollar Hobbies number. This, I believe, is the original number for that part. That if you search it on that or another site, A Main Hobbies, Tower, or any of them will have it. The Mugen parts are very common too. But that has been a good upgrade for me. You do have to shorten the threads on the pillow ball that screws into the end of these arms, just a touch to make sure that they seat down all the way, but you've still got plenty of threads to hang on to those. A good upgrade for that. I haven't had problems with the upper arms since then. I appreciate that, Ron. So the next one is these front drive shafts. And so these, I don't know if there's just something about them. So the Mugen equivalent of the associateds just seem to be made out of maybe a little better steel, or even just a little more stout. I haven't checked the diameter to see if they're any more beefy than the associateds, but this is the Mugen alternate to the associated. That was a good upgrade. Again, something that Ron also found that I decided to incorporate when I bent mine, and these have been rock solid for me too. I haven't had any problems since. So he's also recommended this rear upper arm link. This is that turnbuckle set on the rear arms on the upper side. I honestly haven't had any problems with mine. He has had his strip out and the steel turnbuckle actually pull out of the ball cup assemblies on these. I haven't had that problem yet. So these are still the Mugen ones, still in the bag, ready to be used if that ever does happen. But I haven't had that happen yet like Ron had. So, but I've got those in hand just in case. So, other than that, those were the main parts that I'd broken and replaced so far. I've beat this truck pretty good, mostly just because of my inexperience with working with such a heavy, large vehicle. I did hit hard enough. This is a lower front arm to where it broke and started cracking through this mount right through here, which is where your sway bar link goes through. So I'm not sure how I hit that or how I broke that, but I ended up with one that had a hairline crack, and so that's what I did to replace that as well. That's all for now. I'll have more to come. We're going to be talking about servo selection for this 8-scale truggy, as well as some setups that I found that worked really well as even electronic speed controls and brushless motor systems and radio systems shortly. Thanks for watching.